Hello, hello, hello. I'm Andrea Stevens,
And I'm Jeanette Mejias, and we are Wab's Women.
where exposure brings strength. Hi,
What's up, girl?
what's going on?
I tell you, as I always say, everything is going on. Let's talk about flying the friendly skies. It's not that friendly.
Oh, shoot. No, it is not very friendly. It is not for folks flying American. You're screwed. Sorry.
Yeah, so
Sorry. Yeah. Ugh.
that's pretty crazy.
I didn't even see why I saw that they were talking about labor shortages. Was that the only reason?
Well, I think there's been a high level of demand in travel, and according to the Wall Street Journal, American Airlines cancellations, um, it's off the charts. It is part of it is labor, part of it is just I don't think they have the staff. But the Wall Street Journal did a recent publication today. But it's more how folks can overcome or what their options should look like in the event that they're faced with these consistent cancellations with American Airlines. So I'll just read really quick. When American Airlines announced cancellations and to avoid potentially straining its operations, it sent some flyers into frantic search for a plan B to make their early July travel happen. So consumers planning trips this summer should know how to prepare themselves in case their flights get canceled. So although this is about American Airlines, it's a probability that it could be happening with other airlines as well. So
I didn't know that.
yeah. So so it says here airlines will typically offer a new itinerary to ticket holders. At American, an executive said while most customers will still be able to make it to their destinations the same day, some will be moved onto earlier or later flights or connect over a different hub. Obviously, you can get a refund if what they're trying to offer you doesn't work, but you'd have to ask the U.S. Department of Transportation for the full refund. So the U.S. Department of Transportation's longstanding regulation requires carriers to provide passengers with a full refund when a carrier cancels a flight or if they make a significant change in a flight and schedule the passenger and the passenger chooses not to accept any alternative offered by the carrier. So
I saw a few people pay a crap load of money though to go fly another airline.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's crazy. It's
it's
because you don't know until you get there, right?
But it's interesting. This is very interesting. Although I don't think my family flying through American in October. I'm not quite sure who is the airline, but I tell you what, I'm going to share this with them because that's alarming.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Imagine, right? You're going to a wedding or something like that, what the hell? And they cancel it? That's like just all sorts of wrong. So
well, at least they should tell you 2 weeks in advance. Listen, if they know now that they're going to be stopping flights until July, then they should have picked them already.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're coming out with American Airlines is going to cancel flights up until mid-July, well, then you should know how many flights, you should know what you're saving, you should know all those stats, right? And you should be able to know which ones are being canceled now.
Yeah.
You would think.
I don't foresee traveling being in my future this year. As much as I want to get on a plane, I just really think, I need things to really just calm down. Yeah. Things are just not calm enough for me in terms of travel,
Well, there's a lot of people flying.
Yeah.
And it's a lot, I think. But I mean, to each,
Yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of people that are flying, it's just not for me at this point, but I know
yeah,
a lot of people flying and,
same.
there's going to be more people, I think now there's going to be a limited number. If they're canceling all these flights, they're either going to have a limited number of people flying or they're going to have people sitting in their airports.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they're
Yeah, that's,
not going to, if they're not going to, expose which flights they're canceling, now.
yeah. I mean, it's, it's crazy, crazy times. Um, but at least folks can get a refund. Again, that kind
Yeah.
of sucks because if you really have a need to travel, you need to be somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, getting the refund, I mean, you're still,
At least then you can
yeah,
get in your car. Hopefully you could get in your car and go, and
right,
maybe
but
there's a
then,
train.
yeah, but then the challenge that lies there too, they're saying that the rental cars, there's a shortage now because of the demand, which I'm glad I'm informing myself of this because I do plan to travel to the Hamptons in August, but I'll be driving,
Mm,
and I do need a rental
yeah.
because I have to leave a functional car to my family, so they're not
Yeah.
trapped in the house.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Understandable.
yeah.
Understandable. Let's talk. Okay. So talking about flights.
Uh-huh.
So do you watch that show Manifest?
Let me tell you, I seen it populate on Netflix as one of like the top 10 shows to watch or series. And I wanted to watch it like the past few days, but I haven't been able to do it. But I saw the preview. It looks amazing. Have you watched it?
My whole family binge watched it from last Friday until, um, well, wait, what day are we on? Tuesday, right? So it's been a week. It's been a week. It's been in 9 days. We binge watched all 3 seasons. And it was great. It was really good. I can't wait to see what happens. But it's funny. My husband was going to fly, and my son said to him, "Well, what if you don't come back for 5.5? What if you come back and it's 5.5 years later, right?" And so my husband was like, "Why do you got to freak me out, man? Why?" And my son's going, he's laughing.
I find that that is a very great storyline that they put together
Yeah, yeah,
because it's not just about you come back 5 years later. It's the fact that nobody that knows you anymore. They've moved on. It's like
yeah,
they forgot about you,
yeah.
right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and everybody's relationships went on, right? People were
Right.
married to other
Now,
people.
is it
There's
because,
like all this stuff.
well, let me ask you this. I haven't watched it yet.
And I
So,
don't want to give any spoilers.
well, I don't care because I want to know something. Um, is it because, so whoever's listening to this, just go la 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 or fast forward. Um,
Earmuffs.
here's my thing. Is it because the people thought they died?
Well, yeah, they all thought he died. Yeah, they all thought that they died.
But they didn't. And 5 years later, they come back as themselves. But
They
the
come
family,
back. Okay, no.
all right, so tell me, because that's not going to give it away, because I want to know
They come back as if no
the
time passed.
framework. I want the
No,
framework.
okay, so no, they come back as if no time has passed. Like they got on the plane and got off the plane.
Okay.
That was it. There was no in between middle time for them who were on the plane. It's the people on the ground that the flight was missing. So they moved on.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the framework.
Okay.
Yeah. So the people on the plane didn't lose time.
The people that didn't lose time on the plane, but the folks that didn't travel, the loved ones they left behind,
They moved on.
they moved on. They're 5 years after the fact.
Mhm.
That's interesting because that kind of reminds me, which is a lot different, but it kind of reminds me of the movie, bear with me, because you know my brain takes a couple of minutes to get out my thoughts. What's the movie with Tom Hanks?
With the soccer ball?
Yes.
Oh, oh my gosh.
What the hell's the name of that movie? Oh my God.
That's gonna bug me.
Look it up.
It's
Castaway.
Castaway.
Castaway, baby. So that reminds me of, which is a little different because of obviously she remembered him, but they thought he died.
Yeah.
He was gone. They never recovered him.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came back,
Yeah.
right, and I could talk about Castaway because that's an old ass movie.
Yeah.
And everybody should have seen that movie.
Yeah.
So when Tom Hanks comes back and he talks to his friend, his boy from the FedEx, and he was like, "You never found me. Like, what do you mean you had a funeral for me? What did you put? How could you have a funeral for me?" And he said, "Well, you know, we put mementos, there was pictures, you know, things like that."
Mm-hmm.
And so his then girlfriend, Helen, whatever the actress name is, she's moved on, right? Because she thought her man died. That was like 5, whatever, how many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She's married.
Mm-hmm.
She has children, but this was the love of her life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to hear that he's alive and her reaction of like passing out, can you imagine? Like, it took all this time. I know it's a movie, but this just, you know, this happens, right? So it took all this time for her to heal, grieve, all this stuff, grieve, heal, all that, in whatever order. And she's doing just fine. And to hear that he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. This gets crazy, like crazier than you would ever think.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
and so then why is it titled Manifest? Because to me, manifest has a different meaning.
Well, no, there's the manifest of the flight plan. There's always a manifest on the flight plan.
Okay.
So that's, so it's.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to watch it tonight.
Yeah, you'll start. I honestly I'm so excited. I'd watch it again.
I think I'm going to ask our audience who's listening to please watch. And I'm sure many people already watched it. So maybe we can revisit this in the next, give it a couple of weeks and let's revisit. Maybe we have some comments about this segment, and then we could talk about like we could just let it out. We could talk about our perception of what we saw, all the seasons, and our thoughts, and all that good stuff. Because I love that.
Yeah.
So,
even my son loved it. I mean, he sat there watching.
It's funny because my niece was over on Sunday, and she asked me if I watched it. I said, no. I said, but she goes, I'm dying to watch it so bad. She said, you know? So I may have to text her parents and say, let her watch it so I can kind of like have something to bounce off with her.
How old is she?
She's 10, but like girlfriend, 10 going on 19.
Mm-hmm. Well, Blake's 9.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's another one. 9 going on 19. Like he's very far beyond his years. And I find that although my niece is not an only child, she does have an older sister, but there's a very huge gap in age. Her sister was like mid-20s as kids. So clearly, you know, she was living at the house for a short time when her little sister was born. So she's basically more of an only child because, she's not going to be hanging out with
Yeah.
a sister who's like,
Yeah.
married, got kids, and I'm in 20s. So I find that she's very grown up, like wise beyond her years. And yeah,
I
she's,
think a lot of it, only
yeah. And I think that comes from,
children are around their parents all the time.
yeah, I think that's right. That's exactly right. When kids are around more adults than they are kids, then that's because that happened to me. I mean, I'm an only child, right?
Mhm.
No, I grew up with my cousins and all that. But for the most part, obviously I was always around my mom. But
Mhm.
my mom took me everywhere. And
Yeah.
some of her friends had kids, some did not. But I was always involved in adult conversation. And I find that as I got older, a lot of my friends were older than me, like 5 years and beyond.
Mhm.
And they never looked at me as like, oh, like you're, they always looked at me like, oh, I thought you were like my age. I never even thought you were like 5, 6, 7, or 8 years younger, And I'm like, yeah, no. And I actually had a really, really good friend, which she wanted to strangle me way back when, who was about 15 years my senior. First of all, this chick was tight. Like, I could only think I looked like her at, and her age. She just was very well put together, always looked great. And I remember saying, oh my God, like, you're not that far off. A couple more years, I could like kind of be like your daughter. She's like, oh no,
Yeah.
I cannot have that image. I was like, you're like my gal pal. We go rocking shots and we go party. Like, I go, no, I know. And I don't think you're a mother figure. I'm just saying, like, that's so odd. Like, you're not that much younger. Well, she was, maybe about 10 years younger than my mom, but like, I didn't look at her that way. It just thought it was just weird, So anyhow, so yeah, so let's definitely revisit this because I got to catch up with that manifest. I got to
Oh
watch.
yeah. You got to
And
watch it.
now, how many seasons is this, Andrea?
There's 3 seasons. So 2 of them are on Netflix and one I watched, the 3rd season that just ended. So I watched the 3rd season on demand because
Oh,
it just ended like last week, I think.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
that's it, or it's going to be more?
apparently NBC, I just read NBC
Oh,
canceled it because I wanted to see when season 4 was coming.
so it's
And
NBC.
NBC canceled it, but Netflix might pick it up. But it depends on how many people they see watching it, which if it's number 1 or 2, a lot of people are watching.
It always populates when I open up my Netflix. It's one of the first ones. You know how they recommend the top 10?
Mm-hmm.
They're in the top 10. I don't know what number they land on.
That's how I saw it. Yeah, and it was like
Okay.
1 or 2 when I watched.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it
Mhm.
is. It might
Yeah.
be number 2.
Yeah.
So, oh
Yeah.
my
So
God.
interesting, right? Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I always, you know, that's crazy. I just think that's crazy because you gotta wonder. Sometimes I watch movies and sometimes I'm thinking like, whoever thinks about these storylines, you start to think, oh my God, what if something like that ever really happened in real life, right?
Yeah. When
Right?
when my son said it to my husband, I thought,
Like, don't even say
like
that.
if 5.5 years went by, then I started thinking, if 5.5 years went by, where would I be? Right? Like,
Well, that's a
where
good
would I be?
question.
Would I be
I don't think you'd be where you're
living
at
here? Would I
now.
be remarried? Would I be? Who knows where the hell I would be? Who knows where I would be? Who knows what would happen?
Right.
So yeah, as soon as he said it, I was like, oh shit.
I think it makes
Wonder
you
where I
think.
would be.
Yeah, it makes you think, right?
Yeah.
You think
Yeah.
about, like, wow, how do you move on from, not that you move on technically, you know, there's a difference between moving on and moving on, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't technically move on from somebody that you lose. You just learn to live. right? And
You just
and-
live with the loss.
right, live without
Yeah,
that.
you live with the loss and that's
Right, you
yeah,
don't technically move on. That's a poor choice of word. I think you
right.
learn to
You
live.
accept it. And I think if you
Try
can
to learn
accept
to
it,
live without them.
if yeah, if you can accept it, you can move on. If you can't accept it, you can't move on.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you
Oh,
know,
goodness.
yeah, wait till you watch it. It's pretty neat. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's very interesting when you get into it and what goes on and yeah.
Yeah.
And then you try to figure out what the hell is going on.
Well, I like things like that. That keeps my mind, thinking, what's next, what could happen, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
I know this is unrelated, but I have to throw this in to close out our podcast. I typically am not big on like following celebrities or anything like that. Like, but can we just talk a little bit about J-Lo for one?
I was gonna say, what did you do?
Let's talk about.
Let's talk about her. I love her. Let's talk about her.
I love J-Lo too. Hey,
She
listen,
is somebody that can move the fuck on. Let me tell you.
talk about moving on. I mean, seriously, can we just talk about moving on? I think I need to like get into that spirit that this girl. I mean, she just A-Rod out. Ben Affleck is back in, right? So it's the benefit for him. At first, I thought it was bullshit. I'm like, this is bullshit. They're just friends. Like but now that I'm seeing things populate in the reels, reels, in the movie reels of Instagram, I'm like, oh my god, they're really together.
Yeah, that she can move on. I mean, she can process and move on. I don't know, like nobody's business, but you know what? She looks good. Her body looks great, and she
Fabulous.
and she is living her life
No,
without
listen.
giving a shit. So
Yeah.
I gotta give. I like her. I do like her.
I like her too. I just think like, why don't you just take a little pause and then like dive into something? But I think, something.
But you don't know what's going on behind closed doors ever.
Right.
And that is probably a big takeaway here because how it could be months and months and months. It could be there was all this scandalous crap, I think, that came out, didn't it, about him? And then there was something scandalous with him and some blonde.
On an airplane.
Was it?
Talking about airlines.
Was it?
Yes, sister.
Oh. Well, there's that. But I mean, so you don't know what's going on. I mean, she could have said right then and there, you know what? I'm done. And then really not been done.
Right. I mean, listen.
You don't know.
I don't know. That's true. I do not know.
We don't know.
I do know.
But she can really move. She can shake her ass and she can shake it right on out of one relationship and into another. Like nobody's business.
I just don't know
like
how you bounce. Like, I don't know. I'm the kind of person when I love, I fall hard. When I fall hard on somebody,
yeah,
even if they dogged me out, I don't know. I'm not built to go into, even if it's somebody from my past and we have history. I still have to process, but that's just me. That's my makeup, right?
Yeah.
So I think we all process things differently. Clearly, J-Lo, her process is like moving on next, right?
But you know what though? Again, then we go back to like, we go back, right. But then we also go back to, depends on like in my past, I would, it would take a few shots for me to walk away. It would take a few, I would take a few blows to the head before I would walk away. Now it will take one and gone. And I feel as though at this point in my life, at this age, I'm going to move on because I'm going to move on.
Right.
Whichever way I want. Maybe it's to be by myself. Maybe it's to be, whatever, but I'm going to move on either way.
But I think as we get older, our tolerance levels change, right?
Yeah.
Because, you're experiencing life, right? And so, and looking at Jennifer's romantic involvements and her past marriages, right? I know that she's been very open and candid about, you know, how she loves. She loves
Yeah.
hard, and she loves being in love. She loves having that partner. And there's just people who could just like, move on to the next.
Yeah.
And you know what?
But
Sometimes,
sometimes when you have problems, you talk to people from your past, right? Because you feel like they know you, right? And so,
well,
and then
yeah,
things happen, and
I ain't gonna lie. I love seeing them together. I always loved them. I'm a big, big, huge fan of Ben Affleck.
yeah.
Like I
And
love him.
listen, and I like J Lo. I figured, whatever
Yeah,
he
I love her
does, there's
too.
a reason behind whatever. I just feel like Jenny from the block. There is whatever's going on with her. There's a reason for the shit she does. That's how I feel. But I
Yeah.
like, I
But
like Jenny.
if you ever read her book, she did say that her biggest heartbreak was Ben Affleck.
Oh, I didn't read her book, but
Yes.
I might.
I don't have her book. This was back in
Oh.
the day when my son was obsessed with Barnes and Noble.
Mm.
And he'd be there forever, like a good 2-3 hours. And I would the Barnes and Noble by my house has a Starbucks.
Mhm.
So she had released a book at the time. This is when she had split from Mark Anthony. But she also shared in that book that her biggest heartbreak
Mm.
was Ben Affleck. Like
Well, there you go. And there you have it.
Yeah, so I kind of like the fact that they're together again. 'Cause that's like,
Yeah. Well, go J Lo. That's all I gotta
yeah,
say. I'm still Jenny from the block. Used to have a little, now I have a lot.
yeah. I love it, Andrea, when you're busting out the tunes.
I have to sing every
You're
episode at
always
least.
singing. Lately, it's always you're coming out in a dance and a song, and I love that, sister.
I wish I
So-
had it on tape to play it as we go out today, but you'll just have to do with my vocals.
There you go. There you go. It's all good. Well, listen, this was a blast. I love always chatting it up with you. Remember, everybody, be sure to follow us, like us, post some comments into our episode. And remember, you're listening to Web's Women,
Where exposure brings strength.